Okay, now we're recording. Everything said in this meeting is part of public record and the video will be posted on the county's YouTube channel in the near future. I'm not aware of a reason to go into executive session.
The only thing I have to add is
What's that?
this.
Oh, okay. Minutes from November 27th. You had a chance to review them?
Is that a motion? I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. On the agenda today, we have 3 things to discuss. That said, I erred somewhat in the agenda. I typed it up with Kim yesterday and then failed to send it. So, item 1 will be the chief deputy for the register and recorder's office. Number 2 will be the assessment office manager. And then the third, we found that this discussion on rates when moving employees from one department to another is a collective bargaining agreement with AFSCME more specifically. So it's not relevant at this time, so we're just going to scratch it from the agenda. Instead, we would like to have a brief conversation about a part-time maintenance employee over in the jail. It's something I believe we at least discussed in budgeting before. And we need to get a sense of where the salary board is at on creating a part-time maintenance position over the jail in order to finish the kind of budget. So I'm not necessarily asking for a vote on that today. I just want to get a sense of what we should be budgeting. Anything else that needs to be added to the agenda? Okay. We'll start with the chief deputy register and recorder. Kim, would you kick it off?
Yes, so initially at the last meeting, we had discussed Lori's proposal for removing the deputy register recorder position, making it a chief deputy, and removing it from the union.
To check, and if I can.
No, you may.
The judge, well, I was just, I didn't know she was, she wasn't aware that any of the deputies were in the union. She doesn't think they should be.
A lot of counties don't have them in the union. That is true.
She said each office should have at least one that's not. That was her thought on it.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'll read that letter
Sorry.
from the judge when you're done.
So we had decided at the last meeting that we were going to talk with the union regarding the rate, potentially making it the rate equivalent to an office manager position. It was $16.40 that was proposed. I had sent that to the union, and they had stated that they were against removing the position from the union as well as an increase. I countered that going up to the next tier because, of course, it was discussed at last meeting that Stephanie has taken on some additional duties regarding the Orphans Court guardian system. So I countered that with $15.35. The union came back and said that they were not in favor of that either. And I brought this with me to show where I had taken that figure from. And then we had talked further about potentially a 25-cent increase for her. And I reached out late yesterday, and that was not in favor. They were not in favor of that either.
Okay. And I assume that all stands, correct?
I don't remember the 25 cent.
And
Our
the judge-
issue was, which has been past previous issues, is what goes on between like Planetary, the register and recorder, and that's part of the lawsuit that's been happening, is when we originally made these rates, we wanted everybody to be on the same page. So we didn't have, except for your seniority, like that counting into. So that's what we base that off of. Like we don't want the bickering between the departments or having to file grievances when one department is being paid more than the other department. And that's where we stand with that.
Okay. So to be clear, your application of that principle would be no increase for this position is what your recommendation is?
No, well, it wasn't so much as no increase for that position as we got to make sure that we're putting everybody on the same page.
Right. So what I want to understand, scratching the North case, but still talking about those positions, why aren't they at the same rate, pathonetary and registered recorder? I don't.
They are,
I really
separate.
don't. Okay, so there's one position over there that has a higher rate, and that's spelled out in the union contract presumably.
Well, everybody would be on the same, so like the two in pathonetary, like the treasurer's office are all on this line. So what the union is saying is if we were to give Stephanie and the registered recorder a 25% increase, they would want 25%, a 25% increase for all of them.
But we're not, I don't want her to be a deputy anymore, I want her to be a chief deputy, non-union.
Okay. So just so that I can understand, on the current pay tier of a deputy, there is 2 in registered recorder,
Yes,
there's 2 in pathonetary,
that's correct.
and there's 1 in treasurer.
That's correct.
And that is everyone, and they're all at the same start rate
It also includes the veterans office, which.
and veterans, okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
That was my comment.
Yes.
Because there was, I was aware that the Veterans Affairs Office is also on the same level.
Okay.
You call it level, grade, what do you
I
identify
don't know
it
how,
as? Position?
position.
Okay. Either way, so thank you, I'm just ignorant of these things. So, okay, moving on. So the letter from the judge dated today regarding the deputy registrar recorder and clerk of orphans court, she says this letter is to provide further clarification on the position change in salary request by Lori Bember. The request includes supervisory duties along with added responsibilities in light of the implementation of the guardianship tracking system, which has created additional work for the office. I recommend support an increase and change to the position based on these changes. But there's no specificity, and it doesn't specifically say.
Because she had about 2 minutes, because I didn't know she was here. I'm sure if you had any further questions, I don't know how long she's going to be here today, but.
Okay, well, where do we go from here? Your proposal at this point would be to,
I didn't get the feeling that the judge thought that changing her hours was the answer. She was just a pay increase.
okay. So, yes, to be clear, what my suggestion was, is since Pathonetary's office moved to 40 hours, I'd be willing to move your position in the registered recorder to 40 hours. Like, that's something that we sort of have precedent on, there's a rate change, it gets the employee more pay, but, you know, it's not specified in the contract, and it's a policy I could live with. If you, in the treasurer's office, then came and said, hey, I also need 40 hours, I could live with that. I presume, I calculated yesterday, what we say, like, the maximum impact that that could have on the county if we moved all employees to 40 hours would be $19,000 or something.
So that if we did that, both my deputies would be making the same, and I want Stephanie
Right,
a different job rate.
okay, so my proposal is not going to satiate the problem. So what's the proposal? Non-union, at what pay rate? I presume then, we would then have to prove, I guess I don't know enough, I kind of need an attorney's position. The only time that we've, like, quote unquote, taken positions out of the union were for, like, court cases basically deemed it appropriate. Or in the case of Scott Rose, he was managing people, and his title was deputy director and everything, so that was, no one contested that. I don't know how we do that in this scenario.
Well, I mean, with the supervisory added in there, and the bigger workload, I mean, I had originally requested 1640. The one after that would be 1550. For next year, start next year. She's already at they're all, the deputies, other than Chucker, will be at 1491.
Okay, so I don't have anything in front of me, so what you're asking for is a new position that is non-union. At a rate of what?
What I asked for originally is 1640.
1640.
She'd be going from 27 to 31.
What? Oh, from 27,000 a year to 31,000 a year. I see.
And the 31,535 is actually what she'd be bumped up to if she went to the 40 hours a week.
Right. Now, my assumption is the burden of proof would be upon this body to prove that this is a substantial change and supervisory in nature. Otherwise, we would get a grievance from the union, I would presume. Kim, did you type anything up related to that?
Not related to that part.
And Judge Skirta is president of, so she's not going to letter, but Judge Hammond is also aware of the workload that's been added to the office.
Right, the workload change doesn't justify being non-union. Being supervisory would, but it doesn't, in an office of, I think it would be a hard case to make, as I said last time. Unless something is truly substantially different. Now, again, I still think that if the workload is increasing, I understand why you would propose a wage increase, whatever that is, 25 cents, 50 cents an hour, whatever. And I also understand the union's position, although I would be supportive of, a modest increase for increased labor. We've done that, not necessarily with SEIU, but we've done that a couple times with ASME over the last couple of years.
If the Secretary's office is working well with 40 hours a week, she'll do that. She's agreed to come in at 8 and take a half-hour lunch
Okay,
with an increase as well.
okay. So understanding that the
So-
non-union 1640 is probably not going to go anywhere.
No, I
That's,
understand that. I mean, that's what I initially requested,
okay, so strike that. The new proposal would be
is if you,
move from 35 to 40 hours.
yes,
Okay,
but the judges really don't think she should be in the union, can we do that as well?
not in this meeting, not right now.
Okay.
We would definitely have to seek legal opinion.
Okay.
I mean, I understand that half the counties, more than half the counties probably, have chief deputies that are not in the union, or even deputies that are not in the union, but I don't know the implications. I'm certainly not ready to vote on that. I am ready to vote on moving from 35 to 40 hours.
With the court?
Do I have a union opinion on that?
I'd have to see what that compares to. I don't have that paperwork.
Okay, well, I think Kim does.
I wanted to see what it compared to the rest of the guys.
This is the chart.
I need to see, Kim, do you have the big one with everybody, with all the employees? Who's the least being paid right here now? Out of the deputies. This isn't it.
This one? This one?
No. So they're making all the deputies,
We're all at 1491 in that tier, in that same level.
That's a 1/120, right?
As of 120, yes.
They're not currently at that.
no, they're at, right now they're at 1360.
Yeah,
Okay.
1360.
They're going to 1491.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Same.
He is now?
Well, I need that.
Now, is Chuck's position considered a chief deputy?
No.
So there's currently no chief deputies, but you could conceivably create a new classification called chief deputy. There could obviously only be one per office.
Chuck is making more because he's been here 10 years.
Yeah, right.
But that's not supposed to be an issue.
It is supposed to be an issue in some, I mean, when we went to wages, when we negotiated wages, we didn't just drop everybody to a flat rate. We
Oh, I
considered,
I understand.
we considered people's longevity, because you have people, I mean, like even magistrate's office and all the rest of that, when we're considering people that have been here a long time, and we're trying to justify their pay at, you know, a little beyond the average rate. Because longevity does mean something. Being here for 10 years means something.
Don't they get a longevity bonus?
They do, but we considered that, like, we just didn't like drop, okay, so this is what you are, everybody's here, unless it was an increase.
Another, like in human services is a good example. Now they have a merit-based system on some level, but like they make sure that all of their particular classifications make it the same. Like nobody gets more or less based on their time.
I understood they weren't taking away, I think, from that.
And in this case, when we negotiated the contract, we gave the union the list of employees, what they paid, and then what we were willing to do as far as like different increases. The union came back with their, you know, proposed changes. That's what we ratified. So it's not something where it's the commissioner's position that everybody should make a different pay, you know, whether it's Chuck or anybody else. The reason Chuck is making more, from my perspective, is that when he was hired at the time, he got a little bit more than maybe he should have because he had some kind of educational credential that they felt was, you know,
Yes, that's what
warranted a greater pay. That's not our,
that's not your deal.
we
No, we
didn't
can't
have
take away
anything.
from that.
But my point is that hypothetically, to make everybody on a level playing field completely, the union would have had to say to Kim as an individual and maybe a handful of others, you're taking either a cut or you're not getting anything so that everybody else can come up to where you're at. That's not our job to do, like in the negotiation. So, I mean, it is what it is. Like,
And is it perfect what we did? No. I mean, we
It's
had
never-
a lot to move, and we had a lot of, you know, you guys gave us a budget, and it is, and I told Kim the same thing. I mean, as we're going with this contract, then we found some mistakes along our way, and hope to rectify those as we go forward, but it is what it is.
well, and at the time that we negotiated the contract, how do you think that Sue would have felt if we made some kind of change to Chuck's pay?
No, I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can take away.
Well, that's what I'm kind of saying is like to go to what Kim was saying, it's not a perfect situation and there's nothing, like, I mean, in so many cases, we're all shackled to decisions that were made 5 or 10 years ago and, you know, there are things that you can do to try to rectify that as much as possible. You know, a good example is the underpayment of a multitude of positions that we tried to address in the contract that could get to everybody, or did everybody get everything that they probably should have? I mean, there's just no way to do that with one contract, so this is something that, from my perspective, that we take a look at in the next contract negotiation, because that's the place to fix it.
To fix this issue specifically with register and recorder.
This concern of you know, lack of equity with the Register and Recorder's office. You know, I would note that the Register and Recorder's employees are getting a larger increase over the course of the contract than Pathonetary is. They're getting larger bumps, and in fact, in this contract cycle, they're going to have a 9%
I don't
increase.
understand that. They're all the same.
The increases that they're getting in their pay are greater than the increases that the Pathonetary is getting. So they're, like, Chuck is not getting the same increase amount as the Register and Recorder is over the course of the contract.
Chuck is getting a modest raise of like between 25 and 30 cents every year, whereas somebody else is getting 60 to, I think, maybe 90 cents this year, so.
I just was looking at
And that's kind of like, I mean, even in my position, I mean, I've been here for how long now? And my guys are moving up to where I am. I mean, and I've been here 22 years next month. So, I mean, it's a hard pill to swallow, but I mean, again, we tried to get everybody up on the same playing field and you just kind of move forward from this. I mean, it was better than what they were getting before. It was better than what I was getting before, but do I feel that I should be getting the same pay as those guys because I've been here 22 years? No, I don't, but it is what it
I
is.
had that conversation with different people, and people either think,
It's
I
hard,
think that as you're here longer, you should get more money.
Yeah.
But
but, I mean, it's what we had to work with, and when you have how many employees to try to make that,
I mean, I know your salary's going up, but they're going up faster than you.
just as an example of the kind of, there's no way to fix every problem is that at the same time you have people that maybe are working in a position that they've maybe been there a couple of years. They have somebody that's been there 25 years that isn't doing any work or feels like they don't have to do any work, and they're saying, why am I getting paid way less than this person over here for doing more work than they are? And then you'll get that complaint.
Yeah,
You know, it's like,
it's-
there's no perfect way.
I just feel like it's a substantial change in my office, and that's why I'm asking for it.
So here we are with, let's use this for an example. So how does the union look at, in let's call it Lori's case, where they get this new mandate that they have to do more work? So how do you look at that in the middle of a contract?
Well, for example, I think I wrote Kim saying that probation just got mandated, more state level work. Like we
Okay.
now have to do DNA and fingerprints, which is a nuisance in the middle of all of what we're trying to do, court dates or whatever. But, you know, that's what the state says and that's what we have to do now. So now we need to start doing people's fingerprints and making sure they're all, which just becomes, so I presented it to Kim as like, we're now needing to calculate what are more added job duties, so when we come into this new contract, we can justify the raises that we're gonna ask for.
And another thing in my office that's different is I only have 2 people in my office, so it's like.
Well, and I think if you added 40 hours to your, definitely that would, 5 hours, especially off business hours. Because you guys close at 4:30, you would have a half hour off. I can tell you how much I can get done when I'm like in here at
I'm
nighttime.
aware of that, I just think she deserves a pay increase. And I tried hiring another part-time person to cut the slack, and it doesn't work as well. It works better just having one of my deputies responsible for it. So we're still going in circles.
Well, obviously when people get paid more, I'm not opposed to people making more money. Hell, I'd like us all to make more money. If I could say as a union, here, you have some money, you have some money, I would be greatly, I'd be satisfied with that. I just don't want to start a ball rolling, and I think this is my main thing, is with having people with grievances, because the assessment office will be the next thing we're gonna talk about here, but, I just want to make sure that it's in line with what others are making, so we're not starting a war again, added to the war like we've already seen.
So,
I think with changing her title, to change her hours is giving her $3,000 some more a year. If we
I thought it
ever-
was 10.
No.
No?
That was the original proposal.
Okay.
That's what she's gonna be getting extra a year.
Okay.
That's what's just raising her hours. If we give her the quarter, which is gonna make her,
Where's the quarter compared to the lowest paid? Is this the lowest paid? Is this what your girl's making? Is she right on the market, or does she make a little bit more?
Both of them are at that.
Okay, both of yours is your girl there?
Yeah, she should be, based on, she's on the contract.
So,
She's at 1360.
another thing that I would
Yeah,
throw out,
she's right on the schedule.
Okay.
So are both of mine.
Okay.
another thing that I would throw out here as an issue for us as administrators is that the whole point of having a union and a contract negotiation is so that we don't have to renegotiate the contract every 6 months. And so, that's the benefit of having a union for the administration, is every 4 years we sit down, because honestly, on the flip side of it, this turns into the same thing that we have with the non-union employees, where every single year they're saying, what are you gonna give us?
We have more duties.
Yeah, we have this and that, you didn't give us enough, we should get this, and I get it, but the whole point of negotiating the contract is to get it done, and then we, technically speaking, should not be making any adjustments to it over the course of the 4 years, unless there's an extraordinary situation where we absolutely, our entire system's gonna collapse unless the contract's renegotiated. There shouldn't, because honestly, the minute this change gets made, if it does, who else is gonna come down here to ask for changes to the contract? Because, it's gonna be
What
too
I was
can't
going to
believe
say is, if we give her the quarter an hour, that's $500 a year. That's not gonna hurt anybody, and that's all I'm asking.
If it was one person and that was it, I would agree, but there isn't a department in this building that doesn't believe that they're
The
underpaid.
assessment's asking for it, are they getting it?
Well, they're promoting somebody to an office manager.
And I'm giving mine more responsibility.
I know, but it's not a negotiated position, like the position that they're appointing the
So
person
the
to.
fact that I know as an elected official requesting it and the judge is backing me, that means nothing to you?
What I'm saying is that I don't want to renegotiate the contract every 6 months. My recommendation to any employee that feels that they're underrepresented or they're underpaid is to get involved in the union, become a part of the union leadership, and then when the contract comes up for renegotiation, they advocate for themselves and being part of through that process, which is the official process that we've all agreed on to negotiate these pay rates.
It should be that one.
Yes, unless they
So,
raise that all
to sidestep
office managers to that rate.
the rate conversation, but still, the nature of the work is not changing hugely. The nature, like the things that she's doing today and the things that she'll be doing in January will largely be the same type of work. And that said, there's additional work. Therefore, I am in favor of increasing hours so that she's able to do that work. And I think that has a financial benefit. Additionally, I would add the benefit to the county of moving to 40 hours. Eventually, I'd like to have everybody in this building at 40 hours for simplicity, but also because some of these pay rates are on the lower end, and as at least I described to you, the main cost that the county is spending on these employees is really in benefits. And so I would rather pay the difference, the delta between 35 and 40 hours and get more bang for the overall buck, if you would. So that's why, another reason I'm in favor, frankly, of moving eventually all of the currently 35-hour positions over to 40.
That sounds like a good idea, except for that, if you do that, and we haven't given her at least a quarter hour, and we're on the same thing, that she needs to be a step above. So I'm still requesting what you and I had talked to in our email from a couple weeks ago.
Yes, and I understand, and I feel obligated to provide that, given that the problem, of course, being that the union would then grieve it, and we would spend thousands of dollars probably fighting it, and I don't see the probability being great of winning it. And so, from my perspective, I think the compromise, at least for now, at least the motion that I am willing to make would be to move which deputy is this? Yeah, I know, but I meant
Register Wills Court from the court.
move that position from 35 to 40 hours per week.
I'm just
No.
sitting here.
You have an opinion, you have an opinion.
Any of these three could.
I think it's a start, and I mean, contract negotiations is coming up
A year and a half.
in a year and a half. Let's see how this works. I mean, that's our opinion of that. I mean, I definitely want, I want everybody to be able to get an increase. I just know that, okay, we start this here and you, like, we're opening up a can of worms. You know. And if we want to give everybody in that position an increase. But I definitely think she needs to write down, and what I tell the people in my office, write down our extra job duties. I mean, this is what we need to go to when we start negotiations. This, and I say this to all our people that come to our union meetings, which isn't a lot, but this is what we need to present with. I mean, we don't have anything if you don't change anything and everything's still the same. If you're doing more work, let me know. You deserve to get paid for it. Absolutely.
Does my motion fail for lack of a second?
Just to be clear where you can't second the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, the motion's made and seconded to increase positions hours from 35 to 40. Is there any further discussion?
What are the departments we have that are 35 hours?
Treasurers,
My other deputy will still do 35 hours.
so, and then Veterans Affairs.
What's standard?
So,
Is all office managers? We're all 40?
okay.
Two and a half
There's
40,
3
35?
positions, 4 positions. Wait, no, that are deputies, only that are deputies. So, oh, so your motion,
But, I mean, at the same time, like, you know, there's employees just across the board that are union employees that are 35 hours. hours? I mean, are they gonna,
Well, that's not this motion.
I get that, but I mean, if we move them, you know, we're gonna have to move everybody
The
else.
whole for sanitary office is 40.
Yep.
So with enough time, I would be willing to do that.
Mhm.
Given that we've already released the budget, we only have a few $1,000s worth of wiggle room.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm saying draw the line at 2019 change could be the register and recorder's office gets one, the treasurer's office gets one.
Is the treasurer's office gonna want one?
I'm not asking for that right now.
But it's, if he were, that would be the policy, it would be any deputy that needs to be promoted 40 hours, or increased from 35 to 40 hours. I think we can budgetarily make that happen.
What about the offices that don't wanna be 40 hours?
That's up to them. I'm not saying that everyone's forced into it immediately.
Okay.
Maybe over the course of the next 4 years though, or however long, the contract's in effect for another 2 years, right? So, you know, something to talk about in 2 years. Any other discussion?
So, any issues from the union with going from 35 to 40 for the position?
I, no, because it's an increase in pay for them.
I don't think that that's a grievable thing. They can't grieve by shift.
Unless they don't want to do it. I suppose they didn't agree with that. I was hired at 35.
I mean, yeah,
She agreed to it, or yes.
Well, to be clear, the county's position isn't, I mean, if she only wants to work 35,
But there's nothing in the contract that specifies a shift time.
correct.
Like the
It
jail.
specifically says we can't change the rate without
Not the
discussing.
contract, I'm not sure. I thought there was something that said certain people's hours, but I don't remember.
No, because they'd have to be spelled out per position, per department.
Yeah,
The only
there's a lot.
contract that we have that does that is the jail contract, and that's because
Such flex.
that's a specific issue for them.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion? To be clear, the 4 people that can vote on this, in this matter would be due commissioners, the treasurer, and the register and reporter. The motion that was made and seconded was to increase the deputy register of wills,
Clerk or
clerk orphans court, from 35 to 40 hours per week. All those in
Well, I just like to, I just wanted to say very plainly that this is not a personal issue, despite what somebody might, or people might think. There are plenty of people that are in the union that I would love to see paid more. There were plenty of people that when the contract was negotiated and we got the numbers back, I didn't necessarily agree with all of them, but those are the numbers that were presented, those were the numbers that everybody was comfortable with. So there's no way anybody in this building is ever going to be 100% happy.
No.
Like,
I agree.
and
Been here a lot.
like, yeah, I mean, my perspective on this is entirely based on my own non-interest in renegotiating the contract on a regular basis and getting into this kind of, you know, position of trying to kind of constantly make.
And that's the union's position as well. I always want to see people get increased money. I mean, it looks better for the rest of us. My problem is like, somebody being outdone. I mean, we've seen it, we've seen the battles. Like, it's just, it's not right, it's not, I can't change again, like you said, I can't change the past. And I'm always for somebody making more money. I just want to make sure it's still, I've got to look out for everybody so I'm not having to write 100 million grievance letters.
So, just another question. If we make that position 40 hours, and can we keep that, it's not for her, it's for that position, right?
Correct.
Okay.
correct. If she leaves, that goes with the position.
Okay.
So that being your job description, which I think Kim said she's making the job descriptions up, so that would definitely need to be.
And the judge also said the job description, she wrote over it real quick. It needs to say supervisory in there. I don't remember what else she said. And she's clearly not leaving, but.
And also, I guess I should just state for the record a couple of things. One is, I'm not in favor of pulling the deputies out of the union. I don't see any real reason to do it. For pretty much all of them to say that they're supervisory in any like meaningful capacity, I just don't agree with that. I
don't
also,
know why the other counties aren't.
well, Well, the thing you have to remember is many of those counties that say that the deputy's non-union, they're non-union across the board, like they don't have a union, so the deputy's non-union. I mean, I don't, not every county has a union, and it's a mixed bag. I mean, Armstrong County just unionized, and they're having all kinds of issues trying to figure out how that has completely changed their perspective. Part of the reason that they initiated a union was so that they could negotiate a contract and the commissioners didn't have to answer requests for pay every 3 months, So, my point is that because that's the way it goes. I mean, all you have to do is give one thing to one, because it's public. I mean, like when you work in the private sector, nobody knows what everybody makes, and there's a reason, because they don't want everybody coming to them and asking them for increases. That's kind of the perspective I have on this too, is I'm working in the private sector. I mean, if I can't, there were years that if I got a 25-cent increase, we were all doing cartwheels down the street, So, and so the second thing with that is that in order to try to pull these positions out of the union without having a tit for tat or some kind of real meaningful reason to do it, we're going to incur legal costs, which I don't really.
It doesn't really have to do with the motion.
I know, I'm just stating it for the record, just so that everybody's clear on what my position is, because I haven't really talked about this, just generally speaking.
Okay.
And I'm just saying, like, the whole idea of going after, trying to take the positions out, I just want to make it clear that that's going to incur a legal cost, and I'm not really in favor of that either. So I just want to state that, that's all.
Noted, and it's in that. Any further discussion specifically on the motion? Everyone understands the motion.
40 hours.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Motion carries. Thank you. By the way, thank you very much for coming. That was so much
Do
easier.
we have one more?
We do. We have an assessment office.
You want to stay, Lori?
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. So as I understand it, last time we voted to fill the assessment office manager position with Lisa Burkhouse. And pending union approval, HR met with the union, said, hang on, there's a similar position that errantly was on a different
Yes, so
track.
we looked at the office managers here. So to me, the office managers would be Dina, Bella, and adult probation. There's an office manager position in juvenile probation, and then there's one in the district attorney office.
And assessment, so now
And then
assessment.
assessment,
Okay.
if we were to move for
So
yes.
there's 4.
Right, correct. So, meeting with the union, Brian Bull had requested that Lisa move from $11.95 to $14 an hour. If you look.
Our lowest paid, I'm sorry, yeah, I took it from you. Our lowest paid office manager is at,
What?
From 11.95
$11.95
to 14.
to 14. So the lowest paid office manager is the one in juvenile probation who will go to $13.02 in 2020. So the union has come back and stated that they would approve the rate for Lisa Burkhouse if the office manager in juvenile probation was increased to 14.
Okay, where are the other 2?
The adult probation office manager will go to $14.40, and the
Tara.
Tara will go to $16.40.
So Tara's years,
Yes.
she's been here 20, 30 years or whatever she's been here. Dina's been here 10 years. So that's, I mean, again, it's not huge. The long person isn't really seeing the benefit of that, but unions cannot justify Danielle staying down at the bottom.
Yeah, right, and Danielle's worked at the county for, maybe not in that position, but worked for the county for years in this union. At least 5.
Yeah, at least, because she was with voluntaries and then, yeah.
So are the job descriptions that much different? They wouldn't be like the deputies? that they're all on the same
Well,
point.
I think if I understand what you're saying is essentially that either we or you, someone made an error in that those positions should be the same pay, start pay, right? And we're proposing that is $14 an hour, right?
So, but, hold on a second, so what is the technical, what were the start rates for all of these? Because the pay that everybody's got is according to that list of employees. This is going, I mean, it's a similar.
Yeah, right, the start rate for this position is what? Or are they not?
This is where, I mean, again, it's hindsight, like, had we,
Yeah.
In hindsight, we should have had one line that said office manager.
Well, and the thing is
There's
that
4 right now, right?
this is kind of this is again my issue is like technically speaking, we're promoting somebody to a position. We're not like increasing their pay. Frankly, the question should be whether the person's approved for the
Yeah,
position.
that's correct. We shouldn't even be really considering people's names at this point. The question is should we set the office manager rate at $14 an hour? And I assume the union is amenable to that.
Like, I guess my question is, what is the rate now? Like, what is the,
It's all over the place, that's the problem.
so we don't have starting rates for office managers?
we do, but it's all over the place.
So like juvenile, would be average 2020, adult. would be
So we
average.
do have starting rates.
All over the place, there's not an office
Yeah, so-
manager.
In hindsight, we put that together, if I may speak about, real quick, like within a day's time, and instead of doing just one office manager, for some reason, we did juvenile, adult, we shouldn't have done
Well, so, and again, this is another not personal thing, because I
that. Great, oh
think
yeah.
that she's wonderful, I think she does a wonderful job, but again, this is the whole point of negotiating the contract and paying attention to what we're doing. Like, all we're doing is promoting, frankly, it doesn't even need to be in salary board, she's just being promoted to a position, right?
Was there an assessment office manager position?
No.
Oh, I guess, so I guess in that perspective, yeah, okay, so we need to approve it, but my point is it's not agreeable. Like, if we make that approved, I mean, the union's irrelevant.
But
I
it
think
is,
we're trying to fix an error.
Well, no, I mean, I can understand making the request to have the office manager for juvenile probation's rate increase. My problem is okay, we increase this rate, who else is underpaid on this list?
it's not even a matter of underpaid there, Jeff, it's a matter of, we would be starting an office manager at more than our lowest office manager. That's gonna become grievance.
Well, but that's the rate that was negotiated. I mean, they can't agree, but
But for simplicity's sake, I think at least what I'm wanting to motion is that the starting rate for all of those office manager positions is now $14 an hour, and as such, amend the contract.
you know, I understand that, I'm just saying, like, I mean, again, the only reason that I would even approve this at all is because of the person that's working in that position. I mean, the whole point of negotiating these numbers and having everybody take a good look at them is to make sure that they're right for 4 years, because that's the whole point. Like, now we're gonna again make an amendment to the contract. What happens, I mean, I know that I know exactly what you're doing, and I don't think that it's wrong from a moral standpoint. It's more of just the precedent, just across the board, because again, there are people that might not be aware that we're even having this conversation that find out
Dana
that.
doesn't know I'm having it. She has
Well,
no
well, no,
idea.
I don't mean her, I mean other people that are in that list. I mean, what happens when somebody else is, well,
Can we
hey,
make an amendment to, let's stop separating all those office manager positions and just make, like, the deputies are all, just make it and let's figure that out. This is an office manager position.
That's exactly what I want to do.
Obviously, people make different rates because of longevity or whatever else. We've been here, years of service. But if any of those people leave, this is what people are starting at.
That's exactly what I'm proposing, yes.
I would propose that in the next contract
And
negotiation.
personally, I have no problem amending any union contract as long as both management and the union are in favor of it. I mean,
Like, if I thought that the whole union membership was gonna take a vote on it and have a discussion about it, and that they were all comfortable with it, then.
You do, don't you? I mean, to
I
make
can
actual.
put propose this to the union, I
Make it-
absolutely,
Yeah, make an actual contract adjustment, you do need to vote on it.
yes.
If the union as a whole approves it, I would be more willing to support it. And the reason I say that is I'm just saying, we have these conversations regularly where everybody's like, oh yeah, not a big deal. And then literally 24 hours later, my phone's ringing because, well, how could you have given, or I end up hearing about it 2 weeks later because it's gone through the entire county and everybody's upset because so-and-so got special treatment. It's because the commissioners like this person or this department, they don't like the other departments, and the union leadership doesn't want to work with us and they're not fair and all this other baloney. And that's what I mean, like, you know what I'm saying, right? I mean, that's what I'm trying to avoid is from a principled standpoint, we negotiate the contract every 4 years. The only way we should change it is if we absolutely believe that it's a major management problem and it's so bad that, you know, in this case, I mean, and I think that we understand that the reason the rate for that particular department was negotiated the way it was is because that position, from my perspective, previously maybe didn't have as much responsibility as the one that has it now. I mean,
And I'm not looking at this as what the position is, I'm not looking at it as juvenile or adult, I'm looking at it as office manager.
Right.
Like, and I think if we promote this as, this is what the office managers throughout this, our system is making, it's not individualizing, we're not individualizing anybody. We're not saying so-and-so's now gonna go to this, or so-and-so's gonna go to this is just what this position pays. Because right now, it's all scattered and it shouldn't be that way.
yeah.
If we're trying to, unionize everybody in the category, which is what I think we had tried to establish.
Well, and the other question that you have to ask, and this is what you would do during a negotiation, is do all of these office managers have the same similar responsibilities?
Which
You
is
know?
so hard because all the departments are so different.
And that's why I don't necessarily agree that maybe that they should be the same, because on the flip side, that's the same discussion we have with the human services contract, is that everybody makes the same thing, but not necessarily everybody has the same responsibilities. They might have the same title, but, so either way, you're gonna get complaints. My thing is just that if we make, again, any change you make to the contract is gonna create ripples in the rest of the group, and so you have to weigh that. If everybody's really comfortable with it, and if the union legitimately is comfortable with it, then
We'll just do what we did the last one, which was make a motion pending union approval to create the position of office manager and remove any department specific and set the starting rate at 14. Obviously, we need to get that written up
Yes,
by
and
an
then,
attorney, but in general, that would give you something to go vote on.
okay, so the idea being that if the person in probation, who is the office manager, retires or leaves, the person that comes in is gonna be making $14.
yeah, now the plan rates now, because what it's saying right now is what
It's 16.
is that they would come in making, and Tara say the same thing. It says office manager is gonna come in at 16.
Mhm.
Well, that's not the way it should be.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They shouldn't be coming in, and again, things that need to be corrected, in hindsight, we can see that now, but, when you're,
Well,
it's
will,
not, yeah.
I will in that case, I will make a motion to,
Just
off.
second mine.
What's that?
Just second mine.
Oh, you made a
I already
motion?
made the motion.
Okay, I'll second the motion then.
And
I
that's
will-
pending union approval
Well, and
to create an office manager's position to start at a rate of $14, no matter what office.
And with the understanding that if I get any calls at all, they will all be forwarded to Ben Kaplan's desk.
So I don't see the other office manager positions on here, like DA.
They're not.
Yeah, down a little bit lower. This is DA and PD office manager.
Oh, all right.
It's just not highlighted.
Yeah.
Which reminds me of the PD's office.
And Tara's been here, and Lenore's been here, so that's reflecting it there. So, but and then again, it says that you're gonna be starting at their pay rate, which you're not, you shouldn't be.
Yeah,
They're here because their rates are because of how long they've been here.
Okay.
So again, that's just addendums that need to be, appendixes that need to be fixed.
Okay. Any other discussion?
So just for, I think you just clarified it. So whenever, if a new person is hired, they're gonna get paid the 2020 column rate.
yes.
Does that, with the exception of the PD and DA's office?
No, those are the rates.
Okay.
So those.
I just wanted to clarify because if
It's
those,
fixed. That's what we're trying to fix.
but hypothetically, if one of them leave, the new person will get 1640.
Yes.
Right now.
Exactly, that's what it's saying.
That's what it says.
Yes, unless by the end of the year,
Right.
they get the amendment done, everybody signs it, then a new scale will be created.
Okay, so can I make a friendly amendment to your motion? Which is, we also need to account for the 2021
I
rate.
thought that too, because that's gonna be the next question.
So it should be 14 and then,
What does,
1485.
Danielle, wait, what does Danielle go up from,
Well, I'm just,
from 1302 to the 2021, what's her, what's her?
1375,
How much?
1375.
So how much is that? What math?
73.
73 cents?
Yeah, that's 73 cents. I'm just looking at the zoning officer, which was a flat rate. We did 1250, 1325, 14, and then 1485.
What was the percent, what was the cents? I don't remember, I remember us doing that though.
Where your verdict say?
Secretary?
Oh,
They're-
no.
No, I don't think they have, well, they don't have one now, they will, but they don't.
So your amendment was what?
Well, I was going to amend it to say that we have to have a 2021 rate.
I agree.
So what is, what's 2% of $14? That would be 20 or 28 cents. Yeah, so it'll do 14.28 cents. So I would amend it to say that the 2021 rate would be 14.28. 14.28.
Now I'm just second guessing myself.
Well, it's just 2 cents on each dollar.
Yeah,
Right, treasurer?
Use my hand.
If everybody's comfortable with that, I'll
Well, why don't we just do that as a separate motion? No, that's fine, I accept that. Friendly amendment accepted. Further discussion?
Get it out now.
do you have anything.
All right.
So that would be, I guess, just along with the discussion, that's the stopgap or the Band-Aid to put on it for now until the next contract.
Yeah.
Now, do you guys know how this is, so if we got,
Well, can I just say something? So the other office managers, we're gonna get how much of an increase? 70 cents for 2021?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. Well, okay, so here.
Welcome to my argument.
Right here!
Let the negotiation.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get my phone from ringing.
So hang on though, for a second. Any actual contract adjustment needs to be made at the commissioners' meeting as it's an amendment to the contract.
Yes.
So this is, I kind of want to just call it a formality to get the ball rolling, get legal, writing it up, et cetera. They're gonna have to vote on something that's literally on paper. We're gonna have to vote on something that's literally on paper
Yeah.
before it's official.
Yep.
So there's time, I think, to still sort the details out, namely, once the labor attorney takes what we have generally requested and puts it in language in the actual appendix.
Well, we should hurry up and do that, because the contract, or the budget, we're gonna vote on it in 2 weeks.
Yes, but by moving it in this body, I think the point is that now we know generally where we're going and we can budget for it.
Yeah, as long as there's no crinkles.
Okay. So with that, could I,
Well, what's interesting, let me just say, what's interesting is a number of positions, regardless of who they are getting 25 cents an hour from 2020 to 2021.
So the thing, okay, again, this is the whole idea that all of those raises are different. Like, not everybody's getting the same thing, because some of the positions, from the perspective of the body that negotiated it, were way underpaid, and we were trying to get them to a mean of the state, like average.
We looked at class 6 counties,
Yeah.
is how we based what we should be making across the board.
At the end of the 4-year contract.
So
At the
like-
end, yeah.
So like GIS coordinator gets 25 cents, then you have some of them that get
It's
almost.
75 cents and others, yeah.
Yeah, so there's no way, that's why I just said, just do 2%, because then that's the rate. But frankly, when this amendment is done, it should be a separate addendum from that schedule stating that it's for new hires to the office manager position, not, it supersedes those rates, because those rates are technically for the people that are there. If somebody got hired prior to the amendment, they would get that rate.
Which is
So,
not what our intentions were,
Yeah,
but that's
so-
what it is.
All right, so let's recalibrate, what's our motion?
well, so I still actually think,
the motion stands.
yeah, I think the motion, this friendly amendment still stands, that the 2021 rate would be 1428. And that'll get us through the next year. It'll get us into contract negotiations, and then if it needs to be adjusted beyond that, then so be it.
Commissioner Kraftfelin is correct, though, this is a commissioner issue, not a salary board issue,
Technically speaking.
technically speaking.
You will
Okay.
submit your proposal to us and then I can get it, okay, and let me look at it. Right.
Okay. So again, this is a bit of a formality, but again, the motion, we've read the motion several times now, so,
Do you really need to if it's just a commissioner issue?
yeah, we wouldn't need to.
Okay.
Except for the fact that before the amendment gets done and signed, in order to get the office manager for assessment, they need to go back to the union and get final approval to make the position $14,
Okay.
which would
That's a
bring
good point.
Danielle up, correctly?
That's a good point.
Yes.
So wait, what?
Basically, by doing it in salary board, we can go ahead at the beginning, at January 1st, with the pay rate, as long as the union and when we are all happy with it.
Well, I guess,
And then we can pass the literal, actual amendment, hopefully the first week of January. but-
well, I'm just gonna throw this out there.
Little-
Hypothetically, it goes to the union and somehow it gets blown up, and then you've paid somebody more and then have to cut their pay when the amendment isn't passed. Like, I'm just saying, like, we should that should be done before we do anything.
But did the motion say
Pending union approval.
pending their approval?
That's correct.
If it doesn't get approval, then
Well, again, my point being, to go back to what Commissioner Kraft was saying, this body doesn't have a stake in the contract, like the commissioners negotiate the contract.
Correct. Since the majority of the commissioners board is sitting here ready to vote, I figure we could get an informal vote to give the attorney some authorization to move forward with something.
Okay, yeah.
Well, this has been fun, but why don't I just call the motion, call the question. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for coming. That's really helps. I hope you feel welcome to come to other zoning board meetings in the future.
So just to be clear, okay, so this is just about, we just voted on the contract amendment bid. So
I'm
what,
creating a position called
office manager, yes.
And her, and it's still the union.
Okay,
And her position as is now is eliminated.
Well, no, not until the contract adjusts.
But that would no longer be a position,
There would be no specific, like,
whatever she did.
all of the office manager positions are consolidated into an office manager.
but the current ones are obviously held harmless.
Yes.
Obviously.
Okay, I guess my question is what are we doing about assessment? So are they gonna just hold until we get the contract figured out? Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted clarity on that, so it wasn't like,
Because both motions said pending union approval.
okay, okay.
Okay.
Based on that, what's that do to your budget?
That's why I wanted to do this today, so that we could make a budget adjustment by the
So you're gonna
26th.
basically put these into budget, so you have it there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because
So in the budget, we would need to increase the juvenile probation 1 to 14. And
the difference is pretty substantial in my opinion.
Can you do that when you've already put it out for display?
yes, within 2% of the overall budget.
Okay, just asking.
All right.
Maybe 1.5%. Whatever.
I don't know if anybody's gonna look at it.
We
You'd be surprised. It's,
Okay, the last thing on the agenda has to do with the AFSCME contract, specifically creation of a part-time jail maintenance
so
position.
can you guys stick for this? Because I have something related to SAU.
After the meeting or during?
No, during this.
Why don't you just do that?
So, my understanding of this is that it's being requested to have a part-time maintenance person for the jail because of transitions that are going on with Rusty, where he's having, he'll be out for a little bit and some other things. And so, long-term, this person will be a fixture over there. We had talked about this previously.
I thought we were getting.
Yeah, and it's kind of just sat there because I don't think anybody's wanted to like initiate a discussion, but now we're at a point where there's a transition happening. And basically, rather than hiring a person just for the jail, I would rather transition the entire maintenance department into SEIU and just have them work under Matt and then do away with the AFSCME like maintenance person.
So I'm fine with that, except that you somehow have to find a way to hold harmless the position of what they currently make.
Well, I mean, technically, I get that AFSCME would be losing a position technically, but it's not like we're making it non-union or we're removing it from the county,
Okay.
like
So hypothetically, what you're doing is you would like to make a motion to create a part-time or full-time position within
SEIU.
SEIU.
And then have them in the short term report to Rusty, and then eventually the jail becomes part of the county maintenance, which is what it should be.
Okay, in that situation, all you're asking to do is to create another position at the same rate of pay that's currently negotiated.
Yes, for SEIU.
I like it.
Okay.
Anyone else have an objection to that?
Well, the only,
Currently, we have
the-
What is our maintenance running at right now? Because I don't even know that position even filled.
It's not filled, but it was negotiated for.
It was negotiated for,
It
so
is
what is
filled
his?
now.
Oh, it is filled.
Oh, it is
Well,
filled
no,
now?
it's-
It's filled with a part-time.
It's filled with a part-time, we have a part-time.
Okay,
person.
is he at that rate?
Yes, currently it's $12.50
All right, what do they
2020.
make? I'm sure they're making more with the jail. What are they making there?
That position will go to $15.51.
and this was the.
How much?
$15.51, I guess, yeah.
So is that one part-time too? That's full-time
No, there's no part-time.
at the jail?
There's just one
Right,
person.
there's just one person at the time.
Okay.
And the idea is that he was kind of like the director of maintenance over at the jail.
And was he in the union?
He's in the AFSCME.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, like in this case, again, there doesn't need to be, the whole, let's just put it this way, from my perspective, and I may be completely wrong about this, but previously you had, the sheriff was the warden of the jail, like, there was a huge separation between the jail and the county, and I think that's the reason that there's always been like a maintenance person for the jail, because the idea was they would report to the warden. Well, now that Collins is warden and there's a lot more integration, I don't see the point point of having it separated out, and frankly, it's a huge liability from my perspective, because if something were to happen to Rusty, whatever that is, Matt doesn't know how all the systems over there run. Like, you know, I mean, there's, you know, and we've seen it where Rusty's gone, and then we have to fix something over there, and nobody knows where anything is. Like, it should be one maintenance department, and we should just have another full-timer, and
And then
then,
it'd be more give and take too. So, I mean, in the past, you basically, if we need Rusty, we have to beg, like ask a favor. from us.
Yeah, exactly.
The courthouse, and vice versa.
exactly.
So,
What's Rusty's position on this?
I'm sorry. what?
What's Rusty's position on this?
We've never, I've
Matt's,
never,
I meant Matt's position, is Matt
Oh,
willing
oh.
to take that over?
oh,
Are
yeah,
they,
Yeah, I think so.
yeah.
I don't,
Well, I mean, as long as he has help, I mean, that's the idea, is we give him a full-time position, and then,
right. And to be clear, I'm not saying like Matt Nordine becomes the maintenance director over at the jail like tomorrow or anything.
yeah, no,
The idea is, long-term, what you're saying is rather than putting that part-time employee in ASME's contract, put him in SEIU's contract.
exactly.
I mean, we're always for adding more.
Yeah.
I just wanted to just make sure that, like, there's not a discrepancy in pay between the two, because I know the jail guys make more than,
So they're.
I mean, that's something you guys gotta work out with, whatever.
Well, my perspective on that is that we're just going to have one director, like, and the director gets paid a director's pay, and then everybody else works.
And his staff and all will be at the same.
They're gonna be at the same rate we're paying,
Okay.
like, I'm, you know,
And that'll go to 1375 and 2020.
yeah.
Okay.
And that was negotiated.
Randy does not want to go full-time.
Yeah, and frankly, it helps us in a lot of other areas, because, you know, the maintenance at the jail is sporadic too. So there are peak times where Rusty's time is used up a lot, and there's other times where there isn't much going on over there. And that person should, then
Yeah,
vice
that's what I'm saying
versa,
about the give and
they
take.
should be able to help each other, because that's a county facility, I mean, period.
Yeah, all kinds of facilities, so.
Are they willing to give that up?
That's
We're
the
not-
other,
We're not
that's the other
asking
thing.
them to give it up right now.
Okay, just get with us. on
Years in the
that.
future or something, if there's a vacancy, then what we would want to do is make a full-time position within the SEIU
Okay.
bargaining agreement.
And that's what I was gonna say, Kim, can you reach out to the AFSCME leadership so that we can have a sit-down meeting with them to discuss that?
This does remind me, what did we ever determine about snow removal and grass cutting and stuff like that? I remember we had the conversation.
Did you put a lawnmower in the budget?
Well, no, we were gonna talk about getting a landscaping contract and getting snow removal.
What happened to the jail guys doing it?
Oh, we have to fight all the time.
Why?
There's been, it's not consistent.
Okay, I'm not even up.
I'm happy to have that conversation, I just thought we could close the meeting.
Oh, yeah, I got people probably waiting for me downstairs. Thank you, guys. Anything else, let me know.
Have a good
Okay,
day.
thanks. Okay, so the motion on the table, that I believe I hear from Commissioner Eggleston, is create another additional second part-time maintenance specialist 2.
Under the SEIU contract.
That's your motion, do I hear a second? And yes, before you ask, it's budgeted.
No, SEIU is courthouse?
Courthouse.
Okay, second.
All right. So, motion is made and seconded. Further discussion? Hang on. Any more discussion?
Well, like again, the only issue I would have is to make sure that we engage AFSCME with the like, and let them know what we're gonna do, because the thing I don't wanna do is post a position, potentially hire it before we've had a chance to talk to them. Then they find out that we're gonna have this person, ghosting Rusty, and then they say, well, that's not his turf by the contract or something like that, and then they file a grievance because we're not providing support or whatever, you know, like something along. I don't know that they file a grievance, but they probably call us to complain about it.
All right,
So,
but that's not part of the motion, right?
no,
All right.
my point is
Oh, yeah,
like,
you should communicate with them.
immediately after this meeting,
Oh,
as soon as
before-
possible, we should initiate a discussion with them.
So the effective date is essentially today, but AKA as soon as you talk to AFSCME.
Yep.
Okay, further discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Any opposed? Very good, thank you very much. Is there any other business to bring to the table? Then I would ask for an adjournment.
So this item for people moving,
Yeah, that's irrelevant. Sorry.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Aye.
So, Commissioner Robinson, I can tell Colton what you're thinking.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, no.
You just,
I mean, we've
tell them flat out what's happening, I guess.
We've